Hi friends. Welcome back to our English learning story series. Today's story is called A Bus Accident. It's written just for you to help you learn English in a simple, emotional, and fun way. Each chapter is easy to follow and full of feelings. So, sit back, get cozy, and let's begin. Chapter 1. It was a rainy Monday morning in the city of Maple Hill. The streets were wet, and the sky was covered with gray clouds. People walked quickly with umbrellas in their hands. Some looked sleepy. Others looked worried about being late for work or school. On the corner of Elm Street stood a young woman named Rosa. She was 27 years old, with soft brown eyes and a kind smile. Rosa worked as a nurse at the city hospital. Every morning, she took the number 7 bus to work. Today, Rosa wore her light blue nurse uniform and a small backpack. She held a paper coffee cup in her hand. Her dark hair was tied back in a neat bun. Even though it was cold and rainy, Rosa smiled at the older man standing next to her. "Good morning, Mr. Lee," she said cheerfully. Mr. Lee was an older gentleman in his 70s. He wore a thick gray coat and held a cane in his left hand. Every morning, he waited for the same bus as Rosa. "Good morning, Rosa," he replied with a smile. "I hope the bus isn't late today." "It might be," Rosa said, looking down the road. "The rain is heavy." The number 7 bus finally arrived, its headlights glowing through the mist. The bus stopped with a hiss. Rosa helped Mr. Lee up the steps. They sat near the front, side by side. The bus was half full. A young boy with a backpack played a game on his phone. A woman in a red coat read a book. The driver, a man named Carlos, greeted each person kindly. He always drove safely and carefully, even in bad weather. As the bus moved through the wet streets, people sat quietly. Some looked out the windows. Some scrolled on their phones. Rosa watched the city pass by, thinking about her day at the hospital. She had a long shift ahead, but she felt calm. Suddenly, a loud horn broke the quiet. "Hoo!" Carlos hit the brakes. The bus swerved sharply to the right. Everyone screamed. Rosa grabbed the seat in front of her. Lee held his cane tightly. The young boy's phone flew out of his hands. Bags fell to the floor. The bus shook and then everything went still. There was a deep silence. Then came the sound of someone crying. Rosa turned around. "Is everyone okay?" she asked, her voice shaking. Carlos looked back. "I'm so sorry," he said. "A car came out of nowhere. I tried to stop." People slowly stood up. Some looked confused. Others looked scared. Mr. Lee held his arm and winced. Rosa stood up and looked around. "I'm a nurse," she said loudly. "Let me help." Though her hands were trembling, Rosa walked down the aisle, checking on everyone. The bus wasn't broken, but some people were shaken up. One woman had hit her head. Another man had twisted his ankle. Outside, the rain still fell. A small black car had stopped in the street. Its driver was a young man who looked just as scared as the passengers. Rosa helped Mr. Lee sit back down. "Just rest," she told him softly. She took out her phone. "I'll call for help." The accident had changed everything in just one moment. But inside the bus, something else had started to grow: kindness, care, and courage. The rain was still falling outside the bus. Drops ran down the windows like little rivers. Inside, everyone sat quietly. Some held tissues to small cuts. Others whispered to each other. The fear was still there, but it was softer now. Rosa stood near the front of the bus, talking to the emergency operator on her phone. Her voice was calm, but her hands were cold. "Yes," she said. "We are on the number 7 bus. We were in a minor accident. Some people are hurt. Not serious, but we need help." The operator spoke back, and Rosa nodded. "Thank you. We'll wait here." She hung up and turned to the others. "An ambulance is coming. They'll be here soon." Carlos, the driver, looked upset. He sat with his head in his hands. "I didn't see that car," he said quietly. "I was driving carefully. It just turned in front of me." Rosa walked over to him. "Carlos, you did your best. You saved us. No one is seriously hurt. That's what matters." Carlos looked up at her with tired eyes. Thank you, Rosa. A teenage girl in the back raised her hand. Excuse me. I think my brother hurt his wrist. Rosa walked to them. The boy was about 10 years old, holding his arm and trying not to cry. It's okay, Rosa said gently. Let me see. She checked his wrist. It was red but not broken. You're brave, she told him. Just hold it still. The ambulance will help. The bus felt warmer now, even with the rain outside. People began talking softly. A man gave his scarf to the boy with the sore wrist. A woman offered tissues to the lady who had bumped her head. The young man from the black car stepped onto the bus, his face pale. I'm so sorry, he said. It was my fault. I wasn't looking. I'm really sorry. Carlos stood up and faced him. Thank you for saying that. The man looked around. Is anyone hurt? Rosa nodded. Some small injuries. But we'll be okay. He put his hand over his heart. I feel terrible. We all make mistakes, Rosa said kindly. Just stay calm. Help is on the way. Minutes later, flashing red lights appeared through the rain. The ambulance had arrived. 2 paramedics stepped onto the bus with medical bags and calm voices. They moved quickly but gently, checking each person. They wrapped the boy's wrist. They cleaned the woman's small cut. They gave Mr. Lee a warm blanket and checked his arm. You were lucky, one paramedic said. This could have been worse. Rosa smiled a little. Yes, very lucky. The paramedic looked at her. You're a nurse? Yes, she replied. You did a good job. You stayed calm and helped everyone. Rosa felt her cheeks warm. Thank you. The passengers slowly stepped off the bus and stood under umbrellas. Another bus had come to take them the rest of the way. People thanked Carlos and Rosa as they left. Thank you for helping my brother, the teenage girl said. You're welcome, Rosa said softly. Mr. Lee patted Rosa's shoulder. You're a light in a dark moment. Rosa helped him onto the new bus. As it pulled away, she looked back at the number 7 bus, still parked in the rain. The black car was being towed away. So much had changed in 1 hour. A normal morning had become something unforgettable. But kindness had been stronger than fear. The second bus moved slowly through the wet streets. Inside, it was quiet again. People looked tired, their faces pale from the shock. The windows were foggy, and the sound of rain tapping on the roof filled the silence. Rosa sat next to Mr. Lee. He held his warm blanket tightly. His arm still hurt a little, but he was doing better. Thank you again, he said softly. You're very welcome, Rosa replied with a gentle smile. Just rest now. Across the aisle, the young boy with the wrapped wrist leaned against his sister. She stroked his hair and whispered to him in their language. Rosa didn't understand the words, but the feeling was clear comfort, love, safety. Carlos, the driver, had stayed behind with the damaged bus. A new driver now guided the second bus. He didn't speak much. He just drove with care. Rosa looked down at her phone. It was already 8:45 a.m. She was late for her shift at the hospital. She texted her supervisor, I'm okay. Was in a small accident. On my way. Maybe 30 minutes late. Sorry. A reply came quickly. Glad you're safe. Come when you can. We'll manage. She put the phone away and looked out the window. The hospital was still a few stops away. Her chest felt tight not from fear, but from everything that had happened. The people on the first bus weren't just strangers anymore. They were part of a shared memory, and even though they didn't know each other well, they had taken care of one another. The bus stopped near a school. A few students got on, laughing and pushing each other. They didn't know anything about the accident. Their world was still light and simple. Rosa smiled at them. It reminded her that life moved forward. Finally, the bus reached the hospital. Rosa stood up, slung her backpack over her shoulder, and helped Mr. Lee once more. Do you need to go to the hospital too? She asked. No, dear, he said. I'm going to my friend's house. He lives nearby. Are you sure you'll be okay? Yes, he said. Because of you. They said goodbye. Rosa stepped into the rain and walked toward the hospital doors. She felt the cold water soak her shoes, but she didn't care. Inside, the hospital was busy. Nurses moved quickly. Phones rang. Voices called out. Rosa changed into her work shoes, washed her hands, and joined the team. "Rosa," called Mira, her friend and fellow nurse. "Are you all right?" "We heard something happened." "I'm okay," Rosa said. "Just a shaken-up bus ride." Mira looked at her closely. "You sure?" Rosa nodded. "Yes, but I think today will be a long day." Mira smiled and handed her a clipboard. "Come on then. Let's get to it." As Rosa walked into the patient ward, she saw a man with a bandage on his head, a woman holding a baby, an old couple waiting side by side. So many people, so many stories. And now, her story was part of theirs. Even after fear, people moved forward. Even after accidents, healing began. The hospital was busy, as always. Rosa moved through the hallway, checking on patients and answering questions. She smiled when people smiled, and stayed calm when someone cried. She was tired, but she didn't stop. Still, something was different today. Her body was at work, but her mind was back on the bus. The sudden stop, the scream, the fear in people's eyes, and also the kindness that followed. During her lunch break, Rosa sat in the staff room with a warm sandwich and a cup of tea. Her friend Mira sat beside her. "You really helped people today," Mira said. Rosa looked down. "I didn't do much, just what I could." "That's what helping is," Mira said. "Doing what you can." Rosa thought about the boy with the hurt wrist, the woman with the cut, Mr. Lee with his arm, and even Carlos, the driver who had stayed calm through everything. She wondered how they all were now. Just then, her phone buzzed. She had a message from an unknown number. "Hi, Rosa. This is Anith girl from the bus, with my little brother Luca. I got your number from the hospital driver. Thank you for what you did. We're okay. Luca is resting. You were amazing. I hope we can say thank you in person someday." Rosa felt warmth in her chest. She replied right away. "Hi, Anna. I'm so glad you both are okay. It was a scary moment. I was happy to help. Take care of Luca. Maybe we'll see each other again someday." She put her phone down and took a deep breath. Later that afternoon, a familiar face walked into the emergency room. It was Carlos, the bus driver. He was limping a little and had a bandage on his arm. He looked embarrassed as he came up to the front desk. "I didn't think I needed to come," he said, "but my arm got worse." Rosa saw him and walked over. "Carlos," she said kindly, "I'm glad you came in. Sit down. I'll check your arm." He sat in the chair, looking down. "I still feel bad about what happened." "You shouldn't," Rosa said, as she gently unwrapped the bandage. "You were calm and careful. That helped more than you know." He looked up at her. "It's hard, you know, driving a bus every day. People don't notice you. But then something happens, and suddenly, you're the reason they're safe. Or not. You are the reason we're safe," Rosa said. "If you hadn't swerved, it could have been much worse." Carlos nodded, his eyes glassy. "Thank you, Rosa." Mira walked by and gave Rosa a thumbs up behind Carlos's back. Rosa smiled. That evening, Rosa finally left the hospital. The rain had stopped, and the sky was pink and gold from the setting sun. The streets were still wet, but the light made them shine. She waited at the same bus stop where the day had begun. Her shoes were soaked, her back hurt, and her heart was full. The number 7 bus came this time with a different driver. Rosa stepped on, said good evening, and found a seat by the window. She watched the city as it passed, people walking, children playing, lights turning on in small apartments. The world had kept going. But for Rosa and everyone on that morning Bissett had changed, not because of the accident, but because of the small acts of kindness that followed. 2 days had passed since the accident. Rosa was back on her usual schedule: early mornings, busy shifts, and quiet bus rides home. But the memory of that rainy morning stayed with her. She often thought of the faces from the bus: Mr. Lee, the young boy Luca, his sister Anna, and Carlos the driver. She hoped they were healing, both in body and in heart. That Saturday morning, Rosa finally had a day off. She stayed in bed longer than usual, listening to the city sounds outside, cars passing, birds singing, and someone walking a dog below her window. She made a cup of tea and sat by the window, watching the sun slowly rise. It was a rare moment of peace. Then came a knock at the door. Rosa was surprised. She wasn't expecting anyone. She opened the door carefully and gasped. It was Anna and Luca. "Hello?" Anna said brightly. "We hope it's okay we came. We asked the hospital for your name. We wanted to say thank you. In person." Rosa smiled, truly surprised. "Of course. Please come in." They stepped inside, and Luca gave Rosa a small paper card. It was handmade, with careful writing and colorful drawings. "Thank you, Nurse Rosa," it said. "You are brave and kind." From Luca. Rosa's eyes filled with tears. "This is beautiful. Thank you so much." "We brought something else," Anna said. She held up a small bag. "Cookies. My mom made them. She says you're a hero." Rosa laughed. "I'm not a hero. I just did what I could." "But that's what makes you a hero," Anna said. They sat together in Rosa's small living room, eating cookies and drinking juice. Luca showed Rosa his wrist. It was healing well. He even smiled when she asked if he was still scared of buses. "Only a little," he said. "But it's better now." Anna looked around the room. "Do you live alone?" "Yes," Rosa said. "But I'm used to it. The hospital keeps me busy." Anna nodded. "You helped everyone stay calm that day. My brother talks about you all the time." Rosa smiled, touched by their words. "Thank you for coming. It means so much to me." They stayed a little while longer, then hugged Rosa goodbye. After they left, Rosa sat with the card in her hands. She read it again and again. "You are brave and kind." She had never thought of herself that way before. But maybe it was true. That evening, as the sun went down and lights turned on across the city, Rosa felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Connection. Not just to her patients at the hospital, but to her neighbors, to strangers, to the people she shared a moment with on a rainy bus ride. One event had brought them together, and that connection was still growing. A week had passed since the bus accident. Rosa was sitting at her usual spot on the number 7 bus, this time on a sunny morning. The air was cool, but the light through the windows made everything feel warm. It was quiet, peaceful. Carlos was back driving again. When Rosa had seen him 2 days earlier, she gave him a small thumbs up as she boarded. Now, he waved to her in the mirror. "I'm glad you're riding again," he called out gently. "Me too," Rosa replied with a smile. The other passengers sat calmly, some reading, some watching the streets roll by. The city felt busy as always, but Rosa felt something inside her had changed. Not everything in life could be controlled. Accidents happened, bad days came, but what mattered most was how people treated one another, especially during the hard moments. And Rosa had seen the best of people. At the hospital, things had also changed. Mira often reminded the staff about what Rosa had done that day. "She stayed calm," Mira said proudly. "She helped everyone, even off duty." One afternoon, the hospital director called Rosa into her office. "I heard what happened on the bus," she said. "I just wanted to say thank you." Rosa sat, surprised. "I only did what I thought was right." "That's exactly why it matters," the director said. "We need more people like you." And soon after, Rosa was invited to speak at a local school for young nurses. She stood in front of the classroom, heart racing, but she spoke honestly. "Kindness," she said, "is the most powerful tool we have, in or out of the hospital." The students clapped. Some even cried. Later, when Rosa walked outside, she saw a small boy with a familiar face. "Luca," she called. He turned. It was him. He and Anna were walking with their mother. They all waved. Rosa walked over, and they hugged warmly. "Still riding buses?" she asked Luca with a smile. "Every day," he said. "And I always look to see if you're on it." Anna laughed. "We tell people we know a real-life hero." Rosa shook her head. "No hero, just a person, just like all of you." As the sun dipped low, and painted the buildings in gold, Rosa waved goodbye and walked toward the bus stop once again. The number 7 arrived. Doors opened. She stepped on, sat by the window, and watched as the city moved. It had been just one accident, but it had shown the true strength of strangers. Thanks for watching this English story. This was A Bus Accident, part of our Cozy English Learning series. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon. AF